I can see a resemblance.
My dad is
Oh, okay. He's not, oh,
I got the same one.
uh-oh. No. You're the baby boy, I don't care how old you are.
Can I get a read there, Sean? Just say hello, hello.
Hello.
That's good.
Check, check.
Carl, can I have you say hello?
Hello.
Can you?
Hello.
Yeah, better. All right, thanks. All right, when you hit the gavel, if you have to get on it, hold it in your hand because these microphones are super hot. Okay, microphones are rolling, microphones are hot. I witnessed it from the back today. You can hear everything. So, okay, hey guys, microphones are hot. You can hear whispers. Just so everybody knows.
Okay.
Hot mic the whole time. Okay.
Okay, welcome everyone to the Brownsville City Council meeting this Tuesday, June 25th, 2024. This is a regular session. And thank you all for coming. Mr. McDowell, would you like to do the roll call, please?
Yes, Mayor. Councilor Lacoste. Councilor Hanson.
Present.
Councilor Solberg.
Present.
Mayor Craven.
Here.
Councilor Chambers.
Here,
Councilor Winklepleck.
Here.
Councilor Humphreys.
Here.
We have full attendance.
Okay, thank you. Would like to ask everybody to stand and honor the flag with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
I'll circulate the attendance.
At this time, Administrative Assistant Tammy Morrow will be circulating the attendance sheet. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, Chief Travis Hewitt from the Halsey Shed, the fire department, got called to conflag, so he will not be joining us this evening. Also, just as a note, action item 10D, just received the LOC's legislative policy ballot. I'm requesting that that be tabled until July. The due date is September 5th on that, so we'll need to take action at that at the next council meeting.
And that was 10D?
Yes,
Okay.
10D, action item 10D. Mayor Craven, if you will, I do want to make a really quick statement. Tonight, we do have folks in our overflow room for the meeting. The microphones are super sensitive. So when you're at the podium and adjust it to your height, that's fine. It should work fine. If you need help, I will come around and help you. Council sidebar conversations, please do not have them because anything we say, and you can hear in the other room. So if we can just be mindful of that, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you. Next up on the agenda, meeting minutes for May 23rd, 2024. Is there any discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve them.
I'll second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstained? Hearing none, that motion passes. Next up on the meeting agenda, item 6. We're going to open a budget public hearing. This is open for public comment. Hearing none, seeing none. Scott, would you like to recap some of the changes?
I would. So the Budget Committee approved what your folks are seeing on the screen for the purpose of the other room, approving the full permanent tax rate of 6.9597 per thousand, approved the levy amount needed for the wastewater bond in the amount of $183,225, approved the levy amount needed for the water bond in the amount of $36,645, recommend a 3% utility increase for the upcoming fiscal year, approve historic use of state revenue sharing, which is typically the streetlights, and approve and recommend the continued use of all designated funds and line items contained in this fiscal year 2024-2025 budget document. We have had some things happen over the course of the last few weeks, some delays. I'll talk about them a little bit in detail later regarding our GR12 waterline project. Originally, that was supposed to be finished up by May 15th. Several issues caused that project to delay into the next fiscal year. So council will see in my report a little bit later, I think actually I meant it here, I show it here. We did move some money to cover that. We had to make a few moves to cover that for next fiscal year. So all of those are articulated there in the amount of, what did we move, $175,000 to cover the remaining amounts owed on that project. The other piece is we have moved an amount from the general fund unappropriated to cover any necessary expenditures for the rec center renovation project. I'll go over that in further detail later as well. And then a small amount was added, the amount of $2,750 was added to the beginning cash balance of the cemetery trust fund for lot sales that occurred in fiscal year 2023-2024. And I will cover that when we pass the resolution later.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. McDowell.
Sure.
Next up on the meeting agenda, I'm going to move citizens' comments up before department reports. Council asks that comments be limited to 3 minutes per audience member. Please state your name and address prior to commenting for the public record. And please keep your comments pertaining to city business, and please be respectful.
Yeah, thank you. Bill Statler, 618 Spalding Avenue. There we go. Okay, yeah, not used to these newfangled things. So the good news is I'm actually here to comment on something on the agenda. The bad news is I'm here to comment on something on the agenda. But before that, I'd really like to thank Scott. I had a long, ongoing nuisance problem next to me. I contacted Scott the next day. He was out there posting the property, dealing with the problem. Nuisances are the most unpleasant thing to deal with for city staff. And so I really appreciate him jumping on that immediately and working on it. That was great. Over the last week, I got a whole bunch of emails from people asking me to come here tonight. And I had no idea why. And so I started reading the minutes from the last meeting to try to figure it out. And still don't know why everybody else is here. But I was surprised to learn that the council and the Canal Company have been working to try to take my money without me knowing anything about it. So, you know, I understand up front the council has an issue that they want to address. You guys are here to solve problems. You know, I don't think anything of you are trying to do anything wrong. I just think there's the right way to do things and the wrong way to do things. And in this case, I think that the wrong way is being pursued, and I want to wrap up some of the information to give you a chance to think about it. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in the details, we lose sight of the big picture. You know, there's an old saying that, you know, it's hard to remember you set out to drain a swamp and you're up your ass in alligators. And sometimes you end up that way in council. You get so focused on the day-to-day minutia that you don't think about the real big picture. And the alligator in this case is the Canal Company. The Canal Company is not a governmental body. It is a private landowner, just like you or me. So the council wants to take my money against my will and give it to a private landowner, so that landowner can maintain their property. The supposed justification for this is, well, the canal provides drainage. Well, on the north end of town, there's a ditch that starts in north end of town, runs all the way out to Brush Creek. That's essential critical drainage for the whole north end of town. That ditch runs through several farmers' fields. I'm sure they'd like the city residents to help pay to maintain that ditch. So, hopefully the council starting that process, start charging those folks. On the south end of town, there's another ditch that runs through the whole south end of town. It's essential drainage for the south end. It runs through my partner's yard, and I'm sure she would like to have her neighbors help pay to maintain that. Sorry. There's a legal process that's available for the city for you to do what you want to do. This ain't it. The legal process is called a local improvement district. What the city's trying to do is create a de facto local improvement district without going through the process, without providing the public the protections that are offered by the legislation that establishes the local improvement district. That's what I think is wrong. And I am sure that any judge looking at the situation would come to exactly the same conclusion. That is blindingly obvious. Now, from the Canal Company's point of view, I just don't understand how anyone who claims to represent their interest can stick their hand in a jar of hornets and make enemies out of all their neighbors. Do they really believe that anyone's going to be happy about being charged to pay their bills? Over the years, I've spent thousands of dollars maintaining the Canal Company property next to mine. A couple years ago, I spent $3,000 to have a huge fir tree removed that had died, and it was actually on Canal Company property. But I paid for it and had it removed because it was a neighborly thing to do and it needed to be done. Today, there's another huge fir tree that my neighbor is concerned about that's threatening his house, and there's 2 big ash trees that broke in the ice storm that are actually hanging over my sidewalk and over my parking area. And those are both trees that are on Canal Company property. Now, I had planned on hiring a tree crew to remove them, but after seeing this, that's no longer the case.
Bill,
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt. Your 3 minutes is up. I'll give you 30 seconds to
okay.
make a point, but there will be some other opportunities. We're going to
Sure.
hold some town halls on this
Okay,
too.
almost done. So I'm just gonna say, if they want my money to maintain their property, expect it to be properly maintained. So I'll be serving them notice and they're insured that there's immediate danger to life and property. It's gonna be very expensive. And after that, we'll start the noxious vegetation that needs to be addressed. There's a lot of issues, only a few main points that are major interests. So I'm just hoping that after all of this, both the Canal Company and the city can step back and think about whether or not they really want to make enemies out of all their neighbors, and whether the city thinks this is really worth the strife and the trouble that it's going to create. Okay, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. He's out of here. No, I'm coming back.
Okay. Anybody else like to take the podium?
Kathleen Swayze, 185 Main. So, I want to begin with a definition of bullying. The repetitive, intentional teasing and intimidation of a person or persons by another person verbally or physically, using cruel, crude, derogatory words or gestures to put down and get a reaction from the targeted individuals, including name-calling and racist and homophobic slurs. A city council member, as per 718 Brownsville Rules of Conduct for Elected Officials, clearly lines out the standards for ethical behavior. This is agreed to when the new member takes the oath of office. A council member, Trapper Solberg, has clearly violated these rules over more than the past year. He and his wife have repeatedly sought out 2 community members, Joshua Bloomfield and Cameron Elder, harassing, baiting, menacing, name-calling, mimicking, and yelling at them on city streets, in the bar, at the farmer's market, and on their property. Clearly, this is not one incident. It has happened repeatedly over the past year plus. This obsessive, abusive behavior has been witnessed, recently reported to the sheriff. It must stop. Joshua and Cameron are the victims here, the victims. All they want to do is live quietly in this small town without harassment and fear. When I moved here 40 years ago, it was a perfect, imperfect little community. We all had differing views, opinions, politics, and beliefs. We chose to find the things we all had in common. We continue to build our community together. We worked together, played, volunteered, talked, laughed, even danced and partied together, Trapper. We were a welcoming town to young, old, gay, straight, black, white, brown, and Californians. That was why we moved here. Consequently, this kind of alienating, bullying behavior makes me sad, sick, and brokenhearted. There need to be consequences by the council for Mr. Solberg's inappropriate behavior as per Section 4 Corrective Action Procedure. An investigation is needed. An apology is a small start. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we have order in the audience, please?
Somebody else like to take the podium?
I will.
Over here.
This is disgusting. My daughter-in-law's been called up and down the street. Every time she walks down the street, there's a dog, please. It's terrible. Now, isn't this just great? All of us are here together thanks to an editorial that was published in the Brownsville Times on a one-sided editorial. And been asking myself, why was this even published? Nichole and Trapper have been attacked many times during this conversation, disagreement during a conversation. She has been called the C word time and time again. Trapper has not engaged because he's on the city council. He also knows he and Nichole have been provoked, so they have taken the abuse. If he wasn't on council, I have to believe this would have never been an issue. I'm ashamed of anybody that's behind these attacks. My husband and I have been hairdressers in the hairdresser industry for years. Trapper has a beauty business for nearly 30 years. If you know about the beauty business, you know that many in the business are the LGBTQ plus community. We would have no chance being successful in this industry if we were homophobic. That is the last thing any of us are, at all.
Disgusting to think that people would know us.
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you.
There's always two sides to every story.
Yeah, that's right. Sit down.
Hey, order. Next person like to take the podium, please.
Ladle, longtime Brownsville resident, friend to Trapper, Cameron, and Joshua. I am. We live in a small community. This nice lady started this session tonight with a beautiful prayer about the way we should treat people and listen to people. You sit on the council of a small community. Every single one of you have to represent all of us or none of us. I like these people. I see them daily. Every one of them a great contribution to our community. But this is no way to behave to each other at all. For none of us. We can all do better. I hope that starts today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Next up to the podium.
My name is Jeana Graham, 301 Spalding, Brownsville. And I'm here tonight to say that I really like Trapper, and I really like Joshua. And I've waved at Cameron. Joshua and Cameron I've waved at, but I like all of those people. Tonight, I would like to just say something brief about alcohol, because there was an incident that accosted me, which I didn't take it as a cost because thank God, I am very naive to sexual harassment. But one evening, well, first of all, I want to say about alcohol. Alcohol, I would probably be drinking a lot except I get headaches. But I've had other problems that I have over-medicated myself on, and there are people in this room that know that. And you know who you are, and I love you. So anyway, about alcohol, I would like to say that I was walking home one night, and there was a witness, and one of the parties mentioned tonight that I did. I saw that person, and I was talking to another person, and I said, so what do you have for dinner? And the person said something, and the other person that I mentioned tonight, one of them, said, oh, the drink is mine. And then we were talking, and then all of a sudden there was a comment made that the person that was a witness knew what he meant. And I did not, and it did not bother me a bit. And thank God I didn't know, and I didn't write it in the paper. But that was a violation. That was a violation, but not to me. But it could have been, and I could have wrote it down. So I would like council members to consider alcohol. Alcohol can change people. It can make the depravity of man come out in terrible ways. So please keep that in mind when you're listening to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeana.
So Scott, I need to have, even though I've been in this forum for a million times, please make a joke so my heart will stop thumping.
Okay. Here, how about this? How about this?
There you
There
go.
We're all here together on a beautiful evening. Mandy's here to say some
And
words
I'm
of
totally
wisdom.
terrified, I don't know.
Oh,
Because there's so many strong emotions in this room. That's why we're all, I mean, I don't know about you, but I think this is a heart rate of at least 90 beats per minute.
That's healthy.
I don't know, maybe we'll see how long I can sustain it.
Can you state your name and address, please?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm Mandy Cole. My address is 308 Averill of this community. The issue that most of us are here tonight is not a political issue. It is not a Democratic issue. It's not a Republican issue. It's a community issue. And most probably it's a legal issue. This issue is about how we treat each other in Brownsville. It's about how we expect our elected and appointed officials, the leaders of our community, to behave towards Brownsville citizens. Brownsville citizens do not expect to be harassed by Brownsville officials, to be treated rudely or offensively or aggressively. There must be consequences when Brownsville officials repeatedly harass Brownsville citizens. When city officials are clearly unable to maintain self-control, threaten citizens, even lovely people like Jeana, with physical harm, embarrass the city. I am embarrassed on the city's behalf. Clearly when these officials are clearly unable to maintain self-control and possibly cause legal jeopardy for the city, those individuals must be removed from office and replaced with leaders who represent the best Brownsville has to offer. Thank you.
Okay, breathe deep. My name is Leia Landrock from 309 Walnut. Okay, there are two sides to every story. And we are one community, and we need to find a healing in between. We need to get this, and get above this and beyond this, and to work on better relationships in our future. I want to say that I worked for over 20 years as a civil servant. And I guarantee you, I probably have had more names called at me and my family than any of you have ever had. I worked in welfare fraud. I worked in the child support division, and I worked in social services and with the foster care system. Not once, no matter how much I was pushed or how my buttons were pushed, was I allowed or even expected to ever respond with anything like a racial slur, a homophobic slur, or even name calling or yelling back at anybody. And that includes off duty. We were considered non-sworn officers. We had to be on target 24 hours a day.
Time, Scott.
She's not asking. She's not asking. I didn't.
No, I didn't mean it like that. The clock wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it started.
So what I want to say is and like someone else said, this is not about party. I have actually voted bipartisan for most of my life. Okay, I've even voted bipartisan in the same election. This is not about party. This is about human dignity and respect. And I really believe, and I'm sorry, I understand that your wife was called names, okay? But you are the civil servant, they weren't. And you need to hold yourself to a higher standard and respond better in the future. And like someone else mentioned, alcohol does not help. So we need to learn to control that as civil servants. And it's just a sad state of the way things are. But I do not believe in any circumstance is it appropriate, no matter what your wife was called or what you were called, to use racial homophobic slurs at any civilian in this city.
Never happened.
It never happened?
Yes, you have sometimes.
So the video did not exist where you had said.
You haven't seen the video.
No, but I have heard there is one. I'm asking
Yeah,
you, is there a video?
Hearsay. Watch the video.
Pardon me?
Watch the video.
Okay, order. We're not going to turn this into a back and forth. Citizen comments. Please refrain from engaging. Sorry.
My name is Yolonda Tauzer, 192 Kirk Avenue, Brownsville. Some of you know me, but I come here tonight with a message of love. In honor and recognition of Pride Month, Rick and I, my husband over here in the blue shirt, would like to say a few words in support of Brownsville's LGBTQ community, as well as their families and friends, many of whom are here tonight. We dearly love, respect, and appreciate them. In the words of the Indigenous elder and wisdom keeper, grandmother Patricia Ann Davis, a member of the Mississippi Band of Choctaw and the Navajo Dene Nations, the Navajo Dene concept of the Beauty Way Path maintains that beauty exists within us and around us as the light reflects through a rainbow. The symbol of the rainbow is our sovereign communication with the Creator. So, with grandmother's words in mind, and in the spirit of love and compassion and solidarity, we would like to say to all our beautiful people in all their glorious rainbow colors, Happy Pride Month. May you always reflect your light. May you always speak your truth.
Truth.
And may you always walk in beauty with respect.
Hi, I'm Chuck Smith. I live at 500 Locust Avenue, Brownsville. I used to own the Pioneer Market for years. Been working here since I was 13 years old. I'm back in Brownsville. I'm a Brownsvillian once again. I just talk a little bit about Trapper. I've known him since he was born. I've never known him to be disrespectful. He's always been courteous, and he's just a great guy. To me, I think this is just to try to get Trapper off the council. I believe what some of you guys are saying. I'd have to see the video myself to get the proof in the pudding. And partly, I still live by the sticks and stones, saying. So maybe we can get a little bit back of that back in us would be kind of nice. But anyway, thank you all for listening to everybody, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
You can start the clock. So this
Yeah, I
was
will.
quite terrifying. But, you know, in deciding to come here, my partner said, don't come, because nobody's gonna listen, right? Small town comes with small minds sometimes, and it does, this is true. But my grandpa, who sits over the hill, my last grandparent, he's 91, so most of you all probably know who he is, right? Yeah.
Can we get your
Yeah.
name and address, please?
Summer Stevens, longtime Brownsvillian, 225 Locust. Thank you, Adam. I mean, I've gone to school with Adam, I've grown up with Trapper. I was thinking today of how, you know, I remember Trapper living up over the hill over from my cousins, and he taught my cousin how to mow the lawn. You know, like, this is my doctor, this is my teacher. He's given me the longest standing nickname. My parents work for Trapper's parents, right? Like, this community, I agree with Laura Ray. We did a talent show, Pioneer Picnic, 4th grade, right? Like, these are my roots, okay? And it has been really hard to grow up in this town. I called it the town of the lookers. If you look different, people are like, ooh, who are they? I moved away, I learned different, okay? I only have love in my heart for all of you. And my only wish today is that you hear my message to also hold that in your heart. We are messy, messy human beings. And when you do drink, you do stupid, can I say shit?
You did, Summer.
You did.
So we already dropped a C-bomb and an S-bomb.
All right. I mean, I have a mouth of a sailor, ask my son. So truly, though, like, right, the first thing that happens when we drink alcohol is our judgment goes. I have taught my son this, who is 10. I tell him everything because I need him to grow up in a way that we can function really well in this life and in this world. And when we do stuff, we have to apologize. We have to own it. And this community is small, like Laura said. It's so small. Growing up here, people either knew my life or they thought they knew it, and they all talked about it. And I wanted nothing more than to leave this town. But you know what? I'm standing here because I love this town. This river has my heart, okay? All of you people have my heart. It's time to think about the question, what are we growing here? We want to grow hate? Do we want to grow love? What do we want to support? Right? How can we come together? How can we grow in our togetherness and our differences rather than separate and be divisive? Okay, these are really good questions. Like, maybe you did wrong, I don't know. Haven't seen the video, I don't know. But even in that, don't be defensive, right? I see you in your body language, and you're rolling your eyes, and you're doing stuff, and I'm gonna call you out on it, right? Because we're messy human beings, and I've been there. I've been up on the stand. It's really challenging, it's nerve-wracking, but I don't wanna do that. I just wanna send you love, but I'm also gonna ask you to own up. Truly, truly, please, right? And when he does own up, please choose to take him into your heart and allow to receive that he is taking that step. Don't berate him, right? Like, let's come together in the togetherness, okay? I think that's all I have to say. I'm sure there's much more.
Thank you, Summer.
One of these.
I think you might know how to do it. Thanks, Mike.
They're all different.
Hey, can I ask you, when you leave, can you put it down to a normal human being?
Thank
you. Okay.
Michael Worthing, 27887 Pine View. Technically not right in Brownsville, but my wife and I own a business here. We own the Brownsville Fitness Center. Oh, my name is actually Mr. Max. We'll get that straight. I originally wasn't going to make a statement this evening. Max and I have always agreed that as business owners, it's best to stay out of the fray. But this was too important. It strikes at the core of who we are. And after hearing some excuses, deflections, and distortions offered up by some here, I feel it's my moral obligation to respond. Now, had you known my father, who was a minister when I was young, And by today's terminology, he might be called a golden rule absolutist. And then, if you knew him, you'd understand that this is in my DNA. The golden rule, best lesson he ever taught me. Thank you. Okay, to get to the point. BFC members represent a political, religious, and social cross-section of our community. We welcome everyone, but require that they be respectful of one another, and the vast majority of the folks are. Those who can't or won't are encouraged to find another gym. It's extremely disappointing to me that our governing body may, as by their own decision, set a bar that's much lower than that. Brownsville deserves better. Thank you.
Did council gonna get a chance to say anything to any of this? Okay.
Okay, anybody else?
There may be some
Yeah.
story.
Anybody in the other room?
Yeah. Anybody in
Liz?
the other room, Liz? I've got my text. If they are interested in coming forward, please send them over. Give me a number if you would.
So, it's perfect. Diana Barron, 124 Holloway Heights. I was reluctant to talk today because I don't know the facts. And things accelerate. I have had, moved here 40 years ago. The town had a petition to keep me from coming to town. And it was a pretty big deal. I was fortunate enough to have a few people who supported me and said, okay, this is Brownsville and this is only one vocal part of it. The worst thing I was called was government lady doctor. Regardless of the fact that I had nothing to do with government, and it's up to you to decide whether I qualify for being a lady or not. The reality is it was a big deal for the first couple of years before coming here. It's hard to know what all is going on, except there is discourtesy. I am not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican. I am the party of human decency. And I don't know who's said what, but clearly there's lack of human dignity or human decency going on. And we need to address that. And city councilors are held to a higher standard. And I did, look at the code of conduct, avoid personal attacks, even in body language and tone of voice can appear intimidating or aggressive. Continue respectful behavior in private is also in the code of conduct. I was puzzled, so I came here because of the call to action to support you. But I don't know the details. He and his family are being attacked for their conservative values. And we all have different values, but the behaviors are a different thing. And so I'm not sure what values are being attacked. It didn't say what values are being attacked. There was something about they're suspected of being involved in the witches group in Brownsville. And witches are also a protective class. And I was interested in LGBTQ community leaders. I don't know of any LGBTQ effort in Brownsville. I would probably join it if I knew of it. But it's an inflammatory. I think the letter to the editor that was written had one view of things. I would have loved to hear, oh, no, here's what happened from our side of things, because I don't know. I only know one side. Apparently there's videos, maybe on the TV tonight, but it sounds like neither behavior really showed. I mean, like we're not in middle school anymore.
Exactly.
And it's kind of become okay to behave like we're in middle school. And I think, Jeana, your comment about alcohol, I mean, that does play into it. So, so I would really hope that we find that human decency among us, all of us, that there is some kind of investigation into, okay, what is going on, what did go on, what can happen, how do we make this so that everybody feels respected. So.
It's Antifa.
Yes, it is.
Oh, no. Mr. Moon.
I just came here to listen tonight.
Can you state your name and address, please?
Mike Nehls, 37545 Sunset Lane. And I just came here to listen tonight and to observe. We got a new council, and it seems like there's a lot of stuff being done in town. I really observed everybody listening here very well, except one person that's kept rolling his eyes the whole time, and it was really hard to watch. I know what you're going through. I do, actually. I've had a tough time in this town myself, and actually all the windows in town were gonna be broken because of me. So I understand. But what I want to talk about is alcohol in this bar, and part of the reason I moved to this town is because of this bar. Cam, Natalie, drinking alcohol with all you people, talking about whatever the hell I wanted to talk about, getting into it with my mayor, having it out, talking about it, and at the end of the night, shaking hands, realizing that you can have these kind of conversations in this town. I don't know what happened between you guys. It's obviously ugly. Alcohol is obviously to blame, I'm guessing. Let's try to make the bar the best place in town, okay? I don't want the bar to get a bad reputation, and I want everybody to be able to go in there and drink whenever they want.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Hello, I'm Christine Crowe, 411 Depot Avenue. And I'm not going to be as articulate as all of the prepared people, but I moved to this town 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago, and was told that it was a tough town to be accepted in. That the values were tough, that the council was tough, and that you have to be here a long, long time before you're accepted in this town. I have found that to be true and not true. I personally have joined a community of people at the Art Center who are welcoming and open and lovely. When I hear the talking about the alcohol being the issue, I can tell you I'm a professional counselor who worked with domestic violence men for 30 years. Alcohol does not cause problems, the problems. Everybody in this room has probably been drunk at one time or another and didn't hurt anybody, right? It's a belief system that drives the bad behavior after alcohol. So I don't want it to be the bar's fault or because somebody drank too much one night. It's a belief system that drives it. And if you have a belief about a certain group of people and you allow yourself to act out, you're going to do that, and that's not okay. This has to be a town that has equality and love. I love all the talk about love and equality in here. I moved here because I wanted peace and quiet. I'm through doing the work with all those guys, you know. But I also want to live out my life here and to be accepted just because I didn't come here 50 years ago, you know. And I've met people who are wonderful, and I've been happy here, but this made me so upset today, I felt like crying all day. To me, it's horrible. It should never happen from a citizen who's on a council. That's not okay. So that's all I have to say.
Julie,
Lebanon resident. However, I worked in this town for 10 years. I'm gonna keep it short because it's so upsetting. But my mom taught me it takes two to tango.
Yeah.
So those two gotta be able to fix the problem. We can't fix it, they gotta fix it. And one side can't be, oh, I'm not accepting your apology, or the other one, I mean, it takes two. And so I think Trapper deserves a little bit of respect that, you know, maybe there was some
Thank you.
negative things said about his lovely wife Nichole, who's worked in our school district for years. Gave her heart and soul to those kids, your kids. But it takes two to tango, and it takes two to fix it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, she said, go out and fight with your brother and figure out who's gonna win. I said, that's not very fair. She was older.
So, sorry. My name is Ann Clark, 403 Moyer Street, and I'm echoing Diana's words and everybody else's words here this evening. And last time I stood here was a prior incident, and the only question I asked was, you all take an oath of office. And so your code of conduct states we will never bring disgrace on this, our city, by an act of dishonesty or cowardice. Councilor does solemnly swear that he or she will support the Constitution and laws of the United States and of Oregon.
Mhm.
In public meetings, we'll practice civility and decorum. This does not allow, however, council members to make belligerent, personal, impertinent, slanderous, threatening, abusive, or disparaging comments. Demonstrate effective problem-solving approaches. Councilors have a public stage to show how individuals with disparate points of view can find common ground and seek a compromise that benefits this community as a whole. In private encounters, continue your respectful behavior in private, just as you would in a public meeting. Even private conversations may have public presence. Elected and appointed officials are always on display. Their actions, mannerisms, and language are monitored by people around them that they may not know. We never know who's watching. We never know who's listening. Section 4, responsible officers, the mayor, council president, city administrator, and/or the city attorney shall be responsible for the enforcement of the rules and provisions contained herein. Any member may bring concerns to the above referenced officers. Administrative action shall include the serving of verbal warnings, issuing written reprimands, or recommending council take official action. It goes on. Anybody in this community can bring this to the council, to the mayor, to Scott, and that's what I'm asking to do. I was called to action. I've heard so many stories in the past couple of weeks. I've read the letter to the editor. I don't know the truth. And I don't think anybody in this room does. So I'm asking as a citizen of this city, please institute an investigation and find out the truth so we can all know what the answer is. And everybody here, anybody who has a stake in this, should have a chance to speak out.
Thank you.
I don't care what your side is. I agree with Summer or whoever spoke. We all want to live. We all came here for a reason. We all came here for a reason. And I've had my difficulties, Scott well knows. I can tell you that there is an atmosphere in America, Oregon, Brownsville. Just a week ago, I had somebody jumping up and down on my fence, calling me, and I'm gonna drop another bomb, sorry,
Dang it.
Scott. I'm gonna drop it, and I don't use
You guys are a
this
bunch of
language.
cussers.
I personally don't use this language. This person repeatedly called me
What?
Me, I mean, okay, right, like, I don't even look like.
That was too far in.
Okay.
That's not a joke.
So apparently, there's not any action I can take on this, according to the deputy, the sheriff who we called. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know. I'm looking into it.
Mayor
I'm
Craven.
sure.
Yeah, it's time.
So what I'm asking is, you all set the stage and you all represent us. And if your behavior is not acceptable to members of the community, we're sending a message out and other people are going to start following suit. And we are in an election year and I just don't want it to get worse. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
I'm Wayne Graham from 301 Spalding. I had no intentions of saying anything, but listening to everybody speak, it sounds like nobody knows anything. It's just a lot of hearsay, drunk talk from behind the tavern. And I'm embarrassed that we're here discussing this. How
Yes.
ridiculous is it?
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely.
I had one other thing. I didn't use my whole 3 minutes, but
You don't get extra time. You're out of order.
I was trying to come up with something that I thought everybody could agree with, and this is what I came up with. If everybody in town could decide who they don't want to live here, there wouldn't be anybody in town.
Exactly, you're right.
Okay, that was a good ad, but you're still out of order. Michael.
That is absolutely right, though.
Okay, would anybody else like to take the podium?
Yeah, we have 4 in the other room.
Okay.
We do have.
Can we
4
send them over?
We do have 4 in the room. That would be very kind of you, but they can also come in one at a time. Elizabeth, if you can hear my voice, which I hope that you can, it looks like we're ready for the first folk who would like to come over. There we go. Okay. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Looks like you can probably send them all over, Scott. We got some free seats.
Okay, you do, let me. Elizabeth, please send the speakers over. We do have enough seats here in the front row.
She's right here. I'm number 2.
You're number 2, okay, very
Okay.
good. Well, you're the second one. I don't know that we want to use the number
No.
2, but, you know. Hey, people are dropping cuss words in here, come on. That was a joke. If you want to come sit down, you may. Maybe a little bit more comfortable. Is that, yeah, that's everybody, okay. Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, I'll start after you give your name.
My name is Lily Giannone, and I live at 401 Moyer Street. I came here, forgive me, I hate public speaking. I came here because I moved to Brownsville a few years ago. I've been a hospice nurse for several years in the Brownsville, Lebanon area. And I was so excited to make this my home because I saw a dream and I thought that I would fit in well. And I've been happy with that decision since.
Good.
My biggest concern is that over the years, I've learned a lot about life from death. And I've learned that who I walk as a person in the world is very important, and how I treat other people matters. And to have an ethical and moral code is very important to me. And I would say that no matter what somebody checks on their voting card, they would always be welcome in my house. I would always offer them a meal, and if I heard them in distress, I would come running. It's sad to me to hear that civil servants who have agreed to represent all of us, that is a special honor to do. And it was very disappointing to hear that maybe some people that sit at that table don't represent all of us. And this has nothing to do with Mr. Solberg as a person or a man. I agree that if individuals have a dispute, then sometimes they need to work it out. But when it comes to hateful words coming from somebody that has been put in a position of power, that matters. And I just ask that maybe Mr. Solberg step back to evaluate if he's capable of holding that power. And that's all. I just want to again, this has nothing to do with politics at all. It has to do with how we walk in the world and how we treat one another. And if we all just zoom out, that matters a lot. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, you
Next.
four are ready to go. Rhonda was making a move though. Oh, you're making her do a seat. Okay, very good. Okay, very good.
Hi there, I'm Carrie Hughes, 117 Worley Avenue. I am probably one of the newest members of Brownsville community. I moved here in April, on April 5th. I closed on that house. And on about 2.5 weeks later, I attended my first city council meeting. And because I wanted to be a part of the community, I wanted to know what's going on, and I wanted to see where I can fit in and what I can do and how I can help. And I was a little disappointed that there weren't that many people attending city council meetings. And so I am thrilled to see all the people here tonight, no matter who you are. I think it's wonderful, and I think that one of the ways in which we all can have more of a role in our community is by attending council meetings and having more time for these citizen comments, no matter what they are. So I just want to encourage all the folks that are here tonight to keep coming to City Council. You'll have an opportunity to have your voice heard, and hopefully you can contribute that in that way, in that way to living in Brownsville. I know you're all also contributing in other ways, but I'm just suggesting that attending City Council meetings is a good way to go. The other thing I wanted to say is that following on Lily's comments, that City Council does represent every single person in Brownsville, and that's very important to remember. And no matter who you are, no matter if you are conservative, if you are not conservative, if you're a member of the LGBT community, if you're atheist, or even if you're one of these dreaded witches that I've been hearing about. So I want to encourage you to remember that you all represent everybody in this room and everybody in this town, and that matters. And if you can't do that, you should not be on City Council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ronda Heck, 522 California. So I'm the bartender at the bar. Me and my son, both of my sons, they went to daycare with you. I'm a mother of 2 boys, biracial boys. And they've grown up and graduated from high school at Central Lynn. I have concerns because I have biracial children. I'm also part of the LGBTQ community, and I'm a bartender. So I don't want any drama at the bar.
Right.
Trapper, you've been in there twice. The last time you had your MAGA hat on, and your big America Great, you and Nichole in the bar. I don't think that's acceptable. Especially because you're not supporting it, the whole community. That's your agenda. And, okay, by the way, I voted for McCain and Crowe. Please don't wear that garb in the bar anymore. And if you are having your conservative values, then that's the party of law and order, then I think you should be ticketed for drinking outside the bar and doing disorderly conduct. That's all right.
Can you guys hear me okay with the mask on? I'm Cheryl Hayworth. I live at 302 School Avenue. Been here as long as the Solbergs. Trapper and my daughter were in the same grade together and good friends. They even had ballet lessons together when they were kids. And I've always loved Trapper, and he was one of the wonderful kids at school with a heart. And I've heard a lot of things lately about slurs and lewd physical actions that you've taken. And Trevor, that's not what I want from you. You're way better than that. I know you have a heart. I know you're really a wonderful person. And I want you to be on the council, but I want you to think about what you're doing, okay? The Oregon Department of Justice, under the bias and hate, a bias incident is any hostile expression that may be motivated by another person's actual or perceived protected class, meaning their race, color, disability, religion, national origin, sexual orientation, or gender identity. The act does not need to be a federal, state, tribal, or local crime. Examples of bias incidents can be verbal, physical, or visual. The language and behavior often contributes to or creates an unsafe or unwelcoming environment. Examples are name-calling, using a racial, ethnic, or other slur to identify someone, or using degrading language. Creating racist or derogatory images and drawings, and imitating someone with a disability by mocking someone's own norm or practice. It is a crime under the Oregon law, and under that law, harassment is a crime, be misdemeanor in the state of Oregon, and could carry a possible 6 months jail sentence and fines reaching up to $2,500. Crimes of menacing is when a person attempts to intentionally place fear and imminent physical injury on another person by their words or conduct. Threatening another person with physical injury. Menacing is a class A misdemeanor, punishing by up to 1 year in jail and fines of $6,250. This is serious. And we expect the best of all of you on this city council. This is a fine community, and I want that, I think Iris is going to talk to the code of conduct, but we all need to have a good code of conduct, all of us.
All of us.
And so I hope that we can all come together on this. I love this town just as much as you guys do, and I want the best for you all. Thank you.
My name's Iris Hodge. I live at 203 Washburn Street. And I'm here today speaking because I wanted you to see my face. I want you to know that I also know everything that you did. I saw every video as it occurred throughout the last 12 months. So anyone talking about we don't know what happened, that's not true. The victims are in this room. I was there. There are witnesses that were there in the bar as well when you and your friends were talking to the victims in a way that is hate speech, harassment, and derogatory. And I'm speaking tonight because I don't believe that you represent me. There's a clear code of conduct, Resolution 718, that talks about the expectation of city councilors, elected officials, and appointed residents. And you all have clearly violated that resolution. It is upon the mayor and the city manager and other folks to make sure that there is the appropriate action taken. But I'm respectfully asking you and your partner to step down from your positions because you don't represent us. Your behavior is unbecoming and it's unacceptable. And I want you to know that hate speech doesn't include any other language that upsets you or your wife. Hate speech is the word that you and your wife have used in video, including the lewd gestures. And that's not protected. It doesn't matter what a victim says to you that pisses you off or your wife off. It doesn't matter. If any language that the victim uses that falls within hate speech, then it's totally not protected. We all love the First Amendment right? Freedom of speech. Freedom of speech covers a lot of language that a lot of people don't like. But when you use the FAGGOT word, that's hate speech. And your gestures, also seen videos of that, very unbecoming. So I would respectfully request that you step down so we don't have to go through a big process and, the criminal case is one thing. You might help yourself actually if you step down. And I would urge your wife to do so as well, under Resolution 718. Thank you.
My name is Michelle, live right over the freeway, April. We moved to this town because we saw the people in the town, we saw the cooperation and working together, and we were happy to move here 13, 14 years ago. And I have continued to be happy here. I have one question. As I sit here watching all of you representing us and hear about these matters that are very serious matters, I'm watching a man smirking. I'm watching a man rolling his eyes. I'm watching a man commenting out of time, out of place, when already the city manager has asked you not to do that. This reminds me of maybe my 10-year-old son. So my question to you is why? Is this not a serious matter for you? Everyone else seems to think it is.
It is.
I'm Abe Sword, 36255 Northern Drive. I've lived in Brownsville for 31 years now, most of those years, and made the decision to move back here after living in the biggest cities in the country, tour in the world, and I love this place. I'm sure this council does too, everyone in this room. You represent them, and I've been watching from the front row this whole time. You started out smirky, we lost you a little bit just now, but I saw a bit of a change there over the course. It seemed like you opened up to these statements. I believe that you can learn from this. I'm not sure if you can be a leader of these people, but they chose you to be. See if you can. Learn from it. Be open to it. I don't think we're here to legislate what happened that night necessarily, but we're here as a community to learn from it and get better from it. And I respectfully disagree with the gentleman who said the question why we're here. We're here because this is messy. We're here because of this great experiment, this democracy. And so when you do smirk, when you talk out of turn with this lack of decorum, that's not it. And we're all human, but you can be better. We can all be better. That's why I say learn from it. Decide if you can be a leader to the people in this room, in this community. It's not going to be decided tonight, but you have a lot of things to reflect upon. And it's not shouting people down that are different from you. It's not the eye rolling and stuff like that. I mean, I get it, we're lucky, like I said, but lead, decorum. Show that you care with your actions.
Okay, is there anyone else that chooses to speak? Well, I appreciate you all coming here tonight and expressing your views. I know that nobody's perfect here, and we all can be better as people. And I just wish that moving forward, we can find some common ground. So I know it's not always about politics, but sometimes that is a motivator. So hopefully we can move past that and move forward together as one Brownsville instead of all of these chopped up, divisive classes, whatever you want to call it. We're all Brownsvillians. We're all Americans. I've lived here my whole life. I've lost friends by running for mayor. People I've known my whole life. For what? Because of the flag I display? I don't think that's a good enough reason. So at this time, we're going to move forward to the city business unless there's anything that Mr. Solberg wants to say.
Well, I would like to make comment about the inattentiveness, eye rolling, the gestures. When you're sitting up here and people are saying untruthful things about you, it's really hard to not have that type of behavior to it as a human being.
Mhm.
So when it's not true, the things that are being said and told about you.
But it is true.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
No conversation.
Everybody was quiet while you were speaking, so.
Therein
give Trapper a
lies,
chance to
therein
speak.
lies the body
Yeah.
language, therein lies the gestures. You know, as a human being, I am the farthest thing from being anything that has to do with against LGBTQ+.
That's right.
I have a page of gay and lesbian friends that would stand behind me all day long. That is not who I am. There are other matters at issue here where there's a bunch of half-truths. People have been brought together. And if you knew the whole story, you might all feel a lot differently about it. You know, the way I see this is we have, you know, a certain person that has came in to our environment to stir things up. She is in our crowd. I don't think that it's, you know, too difficult to know who she is. And therein lies the problem. Coming into a small community.
I'm a resident also, you can really.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Point of order.
Enough.
Yeah, can you? I think it's his job.
So if it's not that difficult to hear who's out of order at the moment, I say no more. I'm done.
I want to say that, may I?
Please hold your comments to council reports.
It's not a
President
report.
Chambers. Thank you. Okay, without further ado, we will be moving on to some of the city business agenda that we've had scheduled tonight.
See, they're all going to leave now.
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute recess.
Problem.
Well, I think I should have been allowed to speak because they put him on trial. They put him on trial. I would like, well, how come Josh hasn't spoken? How come he hasn't come forward?
When you get done, just come on. All right, I'm gonna.
Hang in there, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
I mean, to hit it, you know, I would say this, I mean, to hit the nail on the head a little bit. Not being a homophobe, because we are.
Not a homophobe.
We're through the drink, but that's. Anyway. That part is, the line, I mentioned that enough, okay. Come home, okay? Step outside here and walk. No, come over here. I don't want to hear it. Hey, Mom's out there. I'm gonna go take her home. She left. I talked to Mike, and I talked to Joni Nelson. And she was kind of, thought you were rude to her at the park Saturday night. You were about half fucked up. She goes, I know you forever, Chris. Pepper was rude to me and out of line at the park. You might not hurt you to apologize to her. And I shook her hand, and I talked to Mike, and I said, did you start this shit? I just walked up to him, and he walked up. He goes, what are you saying? And I said, I'm saying, Pepper was doing a homework. And I said, I did not do that. He didn't accuse you of being a homework. He shook my hand when I was done. He accused you of drinking. He didn't have to do it. Huh?
I know exactly what happened.
But it doesn't matter, but it's alcohol. These
These are still on.
Those are still on. All right. Okay.
I've got several on council.
Yeah, you should.
I wish I would grab that person and hug it out.
They were. They're all going on with their kids. Oh, yeah.
They didn't do that.
I don't think he ended up showing up.
All right, well, right after we
Where are we? We're back to department reports because we moved citizen comments. So
are you guys going to take action at some point? I mean, executive session? What are going to be the consequences? No comment? Okay. All right. So hopefully you'll talk about it. Oh, hello.
What are you pointing at?
Well, whatever. I didn't know.
Yeah, that's okay. It's okay, Kath.
That's not our job to do.
Because I need to have a conversation.
Oh, that's not even listed. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure why they chose That would be my understanding would be that would be that would look at the situation and determine if it needed to be escalated. That would be my understanding.
Yeah, I will. You're fine with that.
I'm sorry. Identity politics. I thought it was interesting in the letter, social justice warrant. Exactly. It was interesting. For telling. But no. It's only it's just, I read that letter. Mr. Wisconsin.
I didn't get the chance to say hi to everybody.
You were down there listening quietly.
Yeah. So rare occurrence. Somebody's taking the stage tonight.
Yeah. Beat me.
I think I might be a There was one left. I tell people all the time, The three cornerstones of a healthy diet.
Right.
Caffeine, high fructose
Do you
corn
want to
syrup.
say the other side of the story since everyone says there's two sides? Like, what is the other side?
It's a pretty long story.
I have time.
Like a single paragraph.
Do the elevator pitch, as they say in Hollywood. Like, there's a source of animosity, obviously. What is that source?
Well, my wife has been attacked for the last year.
So they started it.
I'm not engaged because I'm on city council.
Okay, hey, one of these days I'll show you the video, because you gotta see it.
Yeah.
From the very beginning.
From the very beginning.
From the very
So
beginning.
that was unprovoked? That just like out of nowhere?
The whole thing started because there was tension between California Food Alliance and council.
Yeah, which I never really understood.
Well, I sat down next to him to try to have a civil conversation.
Uh-huh.
Tell him that I wasn't against
You're a good man.
Q+,
Uh-huh.
and I have no problem with that. I'm in the business of selling food supplies.
Have a great week.
What's the tension with the Food Alliance? Okay, I was like hoping it was.
I don't know. That's why I was sat down next to him to resolve the tension that was there. Because
And that's where it began?
What's that?
And that's where it began. Okay, we'll talk more.
Who's Linda?
Yeah, it's hard. But yeah, because you know
All right, well.
it's
Okay, are we ready, Mayor, to reconvene?
Yeah.
Okay, Mayor Craven, can I have you make that statement out so anybody that wants to come back in, or I'll do it, never mind. He's already walked this way. All right, ladies and gentlemen, real quick, we're getting ready to start back session if anybody wants to come back. Okay, very good.
That was good. I'll calm down.
That's good.
Oh, give me just 1 second. Hold on a second here. Hold it. I gotta call this. Uh-oh.
Yes.
She's not answering. Did anybody see Liz at break?
Yeah.
Are there still a lot of people over there?
No.
Okay. Great. Hey, Betsy? Can you just have her close the room and come over? Thank you.
All right, next up on the meeting agenda is department reports. We got Mr. Hardy here from Lynn County Sheriff's Department.
Thank you guys have me for my 1 hour report tonight. I think I'll keep it short and sweet. Open up for questions at the end. Just a couple things. We had a little traffic blitz in town with some high speeds coming through on the highway. This last month of May, we did 68 traffic stops in town, resulting in 36 citations. The majority of those are for speed or seatbelts. 122 calls for service in town. To put the other side of humanity out tonight, since we've only heard, the tough parts of town, we had a deputy on traffic stop during one of those 36 traffic stops. And a couple kittens ran out on the road, and the deputy took the time to stop traffic and take those kittens back over to the house, so nothing happened to them. So that's our call log.
Oh, good.
So care and compassion for everybody, right?
Yeah, good.
Great lead, Brian.
I love
Other than
it.
that, Pioneer Picnic went out without a hitch
Good.
last weekend. I think we had one DUI out of there with a little incident, but that was our only incident over the weekend. So
Excellent.
So that's great. And we're gonna hope to continue that through 4th of July, right?
Yep.
Everybody? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have everybody signed up. We'll be in town. We'll be present that night. So you just call us. Other than that, open up for questions to the council.
I have a question.
I dare say to the gallery.
Sorry.
Please hold questions for citizens' comments, please. Is there any questions from council?
How fast was the fast speeder through town?
That I don't know. I had to do some digging, but I can get that info to you. You want a high score every month?
Was that?
Yellow Corvette.
No, it was not a yellow Corvette.
We get them pretty fast coming in from the Sweet Home
Yeah.
side, ripping into town.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's usually pretty high speeds.
Yeah.
So, any other questions?
The yellow Corvette, that was good.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Hardy, for coming.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
for
what you
your
do.
work.
Thank you.
We'll see you next month.
So I can hang around?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Call me if you need.
Okay. I will.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, everybody.
I will call you on the bat line here.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, next up for department reports, Mr. Carl Frank.
I'll just try to keep it really short this evening. Scott's gonna go over a few of these items, so I'll just leave it for him. Most of our efforts this last month or 3 weeks or so has been for cleaning up the town, trying to prepare for Pioneer Park. Along that path, we had a few unfortunate things happen. Some of you may know, some of you may not. One of the park hosts, when they arrived with an injury, and while they were taking care of things down there, ended up blowing out his knee. So basically, we lost a caretaker. He didn't die, but
Yeah.
He's injured and not able to work down in the park, is where I was going with that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to mislead people like that. So Public Works has had to cover a lot of the duties down in the park, mowing, emptying trash cans, stuff like that. The lady that's down there isn't necessarily able to lift the really heavy stuff, so we're down there quite a bit helping with that. We recently did hire some additional help in the park, so that'll take some of the relief off of us, so we're able to focus back out in the community as well, which is to kind of put us behind on a few tasks, but we'll catch up. And we had a mirage of equipment breakdowns. We normally don't have that much, but we had a lot this couple months. It's been a pretty expensive repair month. Other than that, I think I'll just leave it open for questions. Yeah, don't really have anything else to report on.
Thank you, Carl.
I just want to add one thing. If you do any questions, I'll be outside.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Frank? Thanks for showing up tonight, Carl.
Well, thank you,
Yeah,
Carl.
and the park does look great, and Pioneer Picnic did go off without a hitch, it seems
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
you had a lot to do with that, we appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, there's always last minute snafus that happen that are just beyond our control. The refrigerator partially died the first day of the.
Ah.
It's like, are you kidding me? But it is what it is. You can't do anything. We
That's
move
right.
forward, so anyway, I'm out.
Okay, thank you.
Good job.
Next up for department reports is the administrator report, Mr. Scott McDowell.
Okay.
Do we have the timer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get 43 minutes for the plan. Out of order. Point of order. Okay, here we go. So, I had that slide, forgot about that. I took that cool picture over at Newport the other day. GR12, I know I talked about this a little bit, the budget I'll talk about a little bit later. We had a problem with the PLC, the programmable logic controller at the water treatment plant, so that the water treatment plant can properly talk with the new wellhead that we do, known as GR12, and the water line we put in. Sign that change order. Oh, that was a tough one. But anyway, working on getting that installed. Carl, have you heard an update on the timeline recently?
I have not.
Okay, very good, because I've been, as anybody can imagine in the room, I've been on the phone all day for the last 2 weeks. So anyway, doing good. Mayor Craven and I went up on, June 6th. We went up to the Daily Journal of Commerce top projects. These were and still are our architects that were on the project with the city for the rec center renovation project. We're happy to report that we won a top project award. I know, pretty exciting stuff. That board is about that tall, and a
Wow.
replica is being made right now. Adam and I felt that it was best to leave it with the architects because, it was a testament to what the work that they had done on the project. So it was a fantastic honor, and you can see the fun that we had there that night. Woodblock were gracious hosts, and it was very great. Turning our time back to the rec center where we're at, Administrative Assistant Janae Deaver just ordered some tables for us in that room, in the meeting room, where Carol and I are going to be turning tail quickly here this summer, very shortly after we can hopefully catch our breath to get some landscaping RFPs out. We're still having problems with lighting issues. There's windows that still are cracked that need to be fixed. They were supposed to be in on June 10th. Clearly, those things, as-built plans, owner manuals, and we do have a problem that we're trying to address with the flooring manufacturer, the contractor. And so we had the contractor out about a week, maybe 2 weeks ago now, week and a half ago anyway, and there's a volleyball-sized lump that has manifested about half court on the east side. And the problem with that is it's a bit of a tripping hazard. So we're trying to figure out how to resolve that without, tearing out the floor. So anyway, it's been wrought with challenges, and we are dying on the vine trying to get that thing open as quickly and as soon as possible. What I expect to happen in the near future, and I don't want to give a date because I'm not sure, but we're getting super close. We'll probably open the building to volleyball only because where that's located wouldn't be a hazard for volleyball, and we'll open that meeting room soon as well. Okay. Oh gosh. Yeah, the library's closed this week for maintenance. So
I want you to know that we walked our grandson down there today because the sign said they were open, and then we got there and they were closed. And I just think this behavior is unacceptable.
What day is it, Councilor Hanson?
It's
what day number is it, Councilor Hanson?
25th.
What day did you take your grandson to said library, Councilor Hanson?
25th.
Okay. This was the same slide I showed last month.
Okay.
What is the number there?
That's a 2.
Okay, so will you please correct for the record that we did anything incorrectly? I dare say if you're going to challenge me, bring the bigger stick than that. Okay, Drupal, Civic Plus. This is concerning. I was on the phone this morning. As many of you know, and you've probably used our reservation system on our website. It's fun reading. Okay, thank you for the playful banter. The issue is the platform that we have currently for our reservation system, of course, is not going to be available when we do the transition to the new system. So I talked to a folk today, Teresa St. John with Civic Plus, and they're working on getting us a product that will work. I basically told them it's completely unacceptable. The reservation module drives people to the site, and the site is the major way that we communicate with our citizens. We have all our forms and everything is on there. So they're working, she's working on that. I expect to hear her back from her probably on Thursday. Okay, as Mr. Statler said earlier, we are in the throes of weeds and nuisance season. We do have an ordinance on the table tonight. Lieutenant Hardy did come down and help me finish that. There have been some changes to the state's towing law and some other issues. There are two kinds of cars, right? Nuisance cars and abatable cars, right? Abandoned cars, I'm sorry. Ones that are on the street that the sheriff's office can simply post, and then something that's a little bit more challenging, which is the nuisance cars which are on private property. So I'm requesting tonight when we get there, if we can get a unanimous vote, we can pass that tonight, which would be great because we, as Mr. Statler said, we have a couple of those already in play. Again, we're trying to work with the property owner. The city usually does not take a heavy-handed approach. We usually have discussions with the property owner and give folks ample time to remedy their concern. So that we're going to continue down that path. I will be at the Rural Economic Alliance meeting on the 27th. Where we'll hear some things from Pacific Power, which are interesting, some programs that they have forthcoming. Council may recall that I did put a piece in the packet last month about generators. Pacific Power is urging people to get generators, and they have a program if you're on oxygen, especially if you have medical needs, to check into that program, because with the fires and with some of the new climate change policies, we're gonna see more brownouts, and they're trying to prepare folks for that right now. Moving on to upcoming events, there's a portable toilet on there because our park events clearly are in full swing, as folks have heard tonight about the Pioneer Picnic. Rally on the River is going to roll in on July 15th. The Antique Fair is going to happen on August 3rd. One that's not on there, now that I'm seeing my slide, I have time to do this, I just barely got this on this. It's one you guys didn't have anything to look at. Sweet Home Sanitation is helping out with the trash and everything. For the 4th of July, Carl's got arrangements going on for that already. We're getting the lighting towers like we normally do. We're expecting a big turnout for that. And yeah, those are some of the events. Oh, we share, the reason why the portable toilet on there is because the Rally on the River, the Chamber of Commerce, and the city go together to provide 10 additional portable toilets that are located on the south side of what I call the new restroom that was built like 14 years ago. But it's by the basketball court for that event. This goes out for the weed and nuisance season. Timmy and I would like to give a big shout out, thank you to all the homeowners who keep their properties pristine and beautiful, and to all those who we called on the phone who brought their properties back into compliance. It was a very great year in terms of cooperation this year. We're happy to report because last year was trending in the wrong direction. This year was trending in the right one. Again, as Carl said, we have been wrought with challenges trying to get this thing done. We like to have it done by picnic. Clearly that didn't happen, and we will work feverishly, hopefully before fire season kicks into full swing, to at least have everything mowed down once. That is our goal. This is a quick example. This is a quick example of some nuisance cars on a property here in town that we're working on. This is an example of an interesting example in our new subdivision, River's Edge, where you see the orange strip. There's an acre of land, plus or minus, that's owned by the homeowners association. On this side of that pink or salmon strip is the city limits. So the salmon strip's actually located in county limits, which makes it an unusual situation. Basically what I did is I contacted the homeowners association and just indicated that we would prefer it if they mowed the strip like we require for 1 acre or more, so that you would provide some protection to these homeowners in terms of a fire break. And then we also, Carl and I were out there, and Carl asked if I would ask to make sure they remove the trees that are in those drainage basins, because they will cause problems to those drainage basins if left unchecked.
What was homeowners association response?
Thank you for letting us know.
Was that Brody McGowan?
That was Ashley Lobaugh.
Okay.
Okay. This is something else. The arrows are pointing at, again, issues that are the homeowners association. Again, you see the first arrow that's pointing to the left. That arrow is pointing to a drainage basin, which again is the homeowners association. And then the 2 arrows that are pointing up on the screen denote a drainage ditch, which is also the responsibility of the homeowners association to make sure that it is back. Basically this year, Elizabeth Coleman in our planning department has taken, I think, 17 building permits. It looks like they're going to throw hammers soon and build the rest of the subdivision out in the very near future. To that end, what is marked in green there very crudely, Elmo helped me with that. We had the Lennar Homes do our swath there and there to protect abutting property owners. So that we're going to see that grass disappear shortly anyway because of construction needs. Next steps real quickly on this slide, and I'll talk about it at length later when we get to the agreement. Where we're at on our next steps was meet with the Calapia representatives. We did. We reviewed the agreement. We did. We sent it to the city attorney. We did. That's what's in the packet for this evening. Mr. Statler points out a lot of things that we've discussed over the last, 18 years or so. And all those things he's right about to a degree. There are going to be a lot of opposition regardless of what council does on that issue. Basically, that just because we have an agreement doesn't mean that we have an agreement moving forward. That agreement is to send me forward. The plan is, again, if you review the tentative agreement and send me forward, then we'll hold a series of informational meetings. Basically, what would have to happen is the Canal Company folks would have to agree to this. And Mr. Statler's spot on, as I've said many times, people voting for something, a fee, it's going to be wrought with challenges. We all know this. But anyway, that's quickly in passing, and I can talk about it a little bit later. And look at that, I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Okay. Planning report can be found on page 19, library 21. Does council have anything to report?
Yeah, I do. Let's see what I did with it. Should I talk about the LCSO quarterly meeting that we attended?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I attended that, and Scott was also there. There are 6 openings, and with vacations and leaves, the sheriff is busy paying a lot of overtime. And also, the group voted to invite Lynn County District Attorney Doug Martini to the September meeting to discuss Measure 110, deflection, and to take a look at the crime statistics and major law enforcement trends in Lynn County and the state of Oregon. So it was a good meeting, I thought. And if y'all want to read the whole thing, it's right there. Just
Very
wanted to
good.
bring it to everybody's attention.
Thank you, Councilor Chambers.
Thank you for doing that.
Yep, so welcome.
Sean, anything to report?
Nothing to report, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, next up on the agenda, item 9A in the legislative section of our meeting. Resolution 2024.09.
You're going to skip citizens' comments?
Thank you, Linda. Water rates annual adjustments. This can be found on page 22. A resolution adopting a 3% rate increase for fiscal year 24-25 and adjusting other fees is authorized by the Brownsville Municipal Code, Chapter 13.05, Article 2, Water Regulations, Ordinance number 534, and repealing and or superseding any other resolution in conflict herewith. Has council had a chance to review this?
Yes.
Rates are going up, everything's going up. Any discussion?
Nope.
I would make a motion that we accept the 3% rate for 24-25 for budget.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Humphries. We have a second by Councilor Lacoste. Is there any further discussion?
I'll just say anytime we have a rate of just 3%, that's pretty welcome, unfortunately, in our current state. So, that's all I'll say.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstained? That motion passes. Next up, Resolution 2024.10, sewer rates annual adjustments. Resolution adopting a 3% rate increase for fiscal year 24-25 and adjusting other fees is authorized by the Brownsville Municipal Code, Chapter 13.05, Article 1, Sewer Regulations, Ordinance number 489, and repealing and or superseding any other resolution in conflict herewith. So, same thing. Everything's going up, and we got to keep pace with it. So this will be a 3% increase on sewers.
I'll make
Yes.
a motion that we pass resolution number 2024-10.
I'd second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstained? Hearing none, that motion passes. Next up, legislative item on the agenda, 9C, Resolution 2024.11, adopting fiscal year 2024-25 budget and making appropriations. This can be found on page 26. We've had a meeting and 2 hearings on the proposed budget.
I make a motion that we accept resolution number 2024-11.
Okay. Motions have been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstained? Hearing none, that motion passes. Next up, legislative item 9D, resolution 2024.12, year-end transfers, fiscal year 23-24. This is the cemetery trust, which we always roll into other sections of the budget.
Yeah, if I could take that real quick, Mayor.
You bet.
Okay, so we just try to do this to keep bookkeeping from historical year to historical year. Thank you, Tammy, for putting this together. We did put some notes this year concerning striping and painting. Those costs have gone up significantly over the last 3 years, for sure. Any thing that is out of the street fund, the contingency comes out of the general fund. That's been the historic practice. We don't even have a contingency account in the street fund for those things. The big thing, though, that I wanted to mention again, and I know I've talked about this in the past, but just for record's sake, is the adjusting journal entry that Councilor Humphreys moved for in January. We had an issue back in 2019, 2021, where the city auditor required us to move funds from the cemetery trust fund into the general fund. Those funds were always included in the unappropriated balance. Of course, a big event happened that year that put this on the back burner for a while, and it was always on my list to go back to, which we were able to do this last fiscal year, getting a hold of the city auditor and pointing out that Brownsville Municipal Code, Chapter 2.45.0010 says those funds are supposed to be left there. So what the auditor did in the audit notes on note 10 on page 22, they made note, it was $85,322 that was in that account. So we did an adjusting journal entry in this fiscal year to show that. What we did in the budget that you just passed was we incorporated that money back into the cemetery trust fund plus the $2,750 I talked about earlier in the meeting, so that fund now is reset to where it was supposed to be. It's like the transfer back to the general fund that we were required to do 5 years ago never happened. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. We're making note of it here so that when the auditors come, they can see what was done. We've made clear line of sight through this all the way through, so it's relatively, if you know what you're looking at, it's relatively easy to follow. So I just want to make sure for the record that we have that there again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McDowell. Okay. And thank you, Councilor Humphreys, for bringing up the journal entry.
I
You
think
helped out quite a
those
bit.
that maybe don't know or haven't followed this process, is that those funds were designated to the cemetery and cannot be appropriated to general fund or whatever. The accountants decided otherwise, and my suggestion is move it back. They're proprietary funds, not general fund, and so they're back home where they're supposed to be.
Right.
Well said.
Okay, what is council's desire on this one?
I make a motion to approve resolution number 2024-12.
There you go.
I'm sorry. I
Okay,
jumped too
motion has
fast.
been made. Do we have a second? Thank you, Mr. Humphreys. Is there any further discussion on this? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstained? Hearing none, that motion passes. Next up, legislative item 9E, ordinance 805, abandoned vehicles modification. We're requesting, did we already?
We've
Is this
done a
on
lot of
emergency
things.
last? Yeah.
We've done a lot of things on this. It's
This
a
is
little
our
bit
second
confusing.
reading?
Well, no, this is our first reading on this ordinance. Basically, I had mentioned to council at the April, 23rd meeting or whatnot, that Lieutenant Hardy and the sheriff's office at the previous Lynn County Sheriff's Office said, hey, they're going to be going around to the cities. We're trying to streamline some things because some towing laws have changed, and we have to memorialize this in the ordinance. council passed a resolution, and I don't quite rightly recall the exact number of that resolution, but you passed it in January, and we thought at that time it was going to be enough, but it isn't. So basically what this does is this codifies this language, so whoever's the city manager can go in there, read it, and figure out what the heck they're supposed to do in these situations. So again, the new law and the sheriff's office intent is to streamline this across contract cities so that it's similar in all
It's all the
cities.
same.
Yeah.
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 Okay, has everyone had a chance to review that?
Yep.
Any discussion? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we pass ordinance 805 as read.
Second?
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
If I could maybe ask as a point of order for Mr. Winkle, Councilor, if you could ask, modify your motion to include, that's an emergency.
I will do that.
I'm joking, Reese's.
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 805, abandoned vehicle modification, and that's an emergency ordinance.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstained? Hearing none. That motion passes for ordinance 805. Okay, moving on to action items. 10A, approve the delinquent assessments.
So annually, council attaches delinquent assessments to the tax roll. This year, we don't have very many. The total, I think, was $1,578 plus or minus. It changed recently. It's not fresh in my mind. It happened 2 weeks ago. It's close. You will find it in the agenda packet here. So basically, we need to take a motion on that, so those can be included. You will find those on the LB50 form, and those will be certified with the Lynn County Assessor's Office.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the delinquent assessments on page 33.
Thank you, Mike.
Very good. Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Do these delinquent assessments sit as a receivable on the books? They haven't hit the income, so they'll basically lower the income when they're written off?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstain? Hearing none, that motion passes. Action item 10B, authorize 2024 general election advertisements.
Mayor Craven, sorry.
What?
Got distracted. Who made the motion in second for last? Because I'm going to be
I
here at 5:30
second.
in the morning and Tammy will.
Motion. And second.
I second.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Sorry.
Okay, so this is to authorize the 2024 general election advertisements. I believe we have 3 counselor positions that will be up for election. Any discussion? Motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion's been made.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed and abstained? Hearing none, that motion passes. Action item 10C, approve Canal Company agreement, which is on pages 35 through 38. Everybody pretty clear on what's going on there?
So I think for clarification purposes, some folks were in the audience and for the record, the city council is not charging anyone for anything at this point. Basically what would happen is this has been a long ongoing process and there are certainly things to consider and have been considered over some great deal of time. And I think it is important to know that, yeah, this is going to upset people. But, you know, this is a service that folks have received for many years without that payment to the city. The city has covered, all the citizens of the city has covered the cost of the electricity for all of these years for that. We've also budgeted money in this budget that's no different for the replacement of those pumps. Mr. Frink is our expert in those fields. He's taking care of those pumps, and he spends hours out there every week to ensure that the pumps are running correctly while the water is running. Typically, those pumps are started May 15th and are allowed to run through middle of September. However, generally, we get a notice from the state water master in about the 3rd or 4th week of July, and Mr. Freak shuts those down as soon as we get those notices because it's a junior water right. So anyway, again, this does not bind. This is not a binding agreement. This is just saying, Scott, go forward with the schedule and work up some presentations. But again, I think the cautionary tale is, I think even when we put this out for information purposes, folks will have a relatively vehement reaction from some on this issue. So either you want to send me forth or you don't, and that's really kind of what the deal is tonight. If we want to go forward with our idea or not.
I would make a motion that we move forward with this project. This has been ongoing since the first day I was on council. It's nice to see it's kind of coming into a package now, and not everybody's going to be happy with it, but it's going to help the city because we're not going to have the liability of all the maintenance on the pumps.
Yeah.
And, people that are on that canal don't want to accept that, but.
Right. I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed and abstained? Hearing none. That motion passes. Thanks for all your work on that, Mr. McDowell. The League of Oregon Cities Legislative Policy Ballot. Sounds like it's recommended to table that.
Yeah, I just received the information yesterday. The deadline's September 5th. We do recess in August, so I will have it on the agenda for council's review in July so that we can make our selections so that I can vote online.
Okay.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, item 11, discussion items. Item 11A is Central End School District Intergovernmental Agreement. Scott has been working with Central End School District to try to procure an agreement for the use of some of their sports complexes.
Yep, we've always worked with the school district for youth sports through the rec center, and they've always been generous in granting us green space, whether it be at the elementary school or the high school. The city's reciprocated that by allowing them to use the park for soccer practices and whatever they need it for. They also use places like the community room. I'm sure that when folks see the new beautiful room that we have in the rec center, that'll be a favorite place for folks to go for training and whatnot. So what we really wanted to do, Dr. Pelt and I, was we really wanted to memorialize this in an agreement so that we had something, that was easily understood by all, and so that we can further that cooperation. So when I talked to Dr. Pelt a few weeks back, she indicated that she would have that on the agenda in August. So we're excited to work on this and move forward.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, next up is item 11B, North Templeton Street. Possible request.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. It's just a matter of process. I haven't had an opportunity to talk in depth with the property owner. But there's a folk who would like to activate one of our codes, which is a local improvements area, most often referred to in Oregon as a LID or a local improvement district. Basically, there's two ways those things work. Just as a matter of, hopefully I don't have to write this all out in the next council meeting. So I'm just briefing you now, remind you later. So there's two ways that those are initiated by the Brownsville Municipal Code. One is by a citizen, all right? So a citizen come in and say, hey, I want the street paved, like in this situation. There's 130 foot of street that is unpaved. These folks would like to see the street paved. There's 5 property owners, as an example, in this situation. So they would come to council and they would say, hey, we've got 3 of the 5. They need at least 3 of the 5 to move forward. We want to move forward with this. Will you allow this to move forward? And then council says, okay, well, if it moves forward, then you are responsible for the engineer's estimate. So the engineer's estimate will be between $700 and $1,000. And then council will say, okay, well, if you're gonna pay that, great. And then you'll say, okay, go forth. And then I'll call Ryan. Ryan will come out, he'll meet with Carl and myself. We'll go down, we'll look at the road. He'll write up an estimate, and it'll come back to council. We'll invite the folks who voted for it back to council, and we'll say, okay, it's gonna be X amount of dollars. Do you wish us to proceed? So that's one way, right? Citizen done. Then, if that happens, they have an opportunity to pay their share up front, or we assess it to the tax rolls over a period of 10 years through the Bancroft Act. That's one. Two, council will know, this best example that I can use here is with sidewalks, a sidewalk program. So council can initiate a local improvements area, right? You can do that for a street, you could do that for storm sewers, you could do that for a sidewalk. Basically, you could do it for any improvement that the city would have, really, mostly. Any special, certainly a special project. And so what would happen there is, as an example, let's say we had a sidewalk program and we had the town broken down into 6 or 8 sections. Council would say, okay, we're doing section A and section B this year, and you would call the city engineer in. They would measure all of the linear feet or verify Carl and I's measurements to make sure that we had it right, and then they would provide an estimate to the city. Whatever that estimate was then, council would say, go forth. Carl and I would put out a request for proposals for a contractor. We would get a successful contractor who was going to do it. We'd let the property owners know, hey, you have until this date to do your sidewalks, or you can use the city contractor. This is the price per foot. You can also pay for it up front, or you can have it linked to your taxes. It's a very tedious process, but at the end of the day, that's how you would go through local improvement assessed areas for city-initiated project. That was a lot, but anyway, that's why I don't want to write it down. Is everybody clear on that? Does anybody have any questions on that? No, okay. No, you didn't understand it, or no, you don't have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
We talked at length about this at our meeting.
Okay, very good.
Is the ball in their court at this point?
At this
When They're
point.
trying to get 3.
At this
They'll
point.
come back to
No,
you?
we haven't even gotten that far.
Oh, okay.
We haven't even gotten that far. That's
They
just.
were just asking.
Yeah, right now they're asking, but that's the process. So, we might see this, I would expect that we'll see the first initial question to hit the July council agenda. Yeah.
Okay. Next up, item 11C, May financials. Is there any discussion on that? That can be found on the back page, page 103. Hearing none, moving on. Is there any more citizens' questions and comments?
Yes.
Council asks comments to be limited to 3 minutes per audience member. Please state your name and address prior to commenting for the public record, and please keep your comments respectful and pertaining to city business.
Sure, great. Don Lyon, 352 Kirk Avenue of Brownsville. Well, we heard many emotional pleas tonight about how we might bring the community together after these events. And I certainly hope that is true. I hope it is possible. I think the only way it can happen is if there is some sort of a bipartisan study group that could meet and review the videos, any other evidence that people have. I think Mr. Solberg and Mr. Bloomfield both ought to be present to be a sort of a reality check on the process. And I'm making this as a formal request. I'm not quite sure of the process, but maybe you can advise me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Patrick Starnes on 122 Putnam. To follow up to what Don was just saying, I'm trying to, more of a question than a comment about the calendar or how the ball gets rolling. Because there was mention in those, somebody was reading the ordinance about the mayor and the city manager meet, and then they talk about it, is that true? And then.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that, I can talk to that after we have public comments. Patrick's probably a good idea.
Cool.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
just
Thank you for that.
to give us a feel for our calendar so that we feel like all these folks didn't express their concerns and yeah, some action, just so we know the calendar. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you, Patrick.
Good to be back in America. I live on 717 K Avenue. It's a nuisance problem right now. I just got back from Mexico on a mission trip. And
What was your name?
Bill Hand.
Bill Hand?
Yeah, William Hand is what it's noticed as. But at this point, we're working on resolving the issues. I haven't had a chance to talk with anybody, but just wanted to let them know the goal, they're not my vehicles, but I'm trying to get them off the property.
Right.
I acquired them when I purchased the property. But that's about it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
I've been there.
Very good. Okay. Not seeing any others, we'll move on. Item 13 on the council agenda, council questions and comments. Is there any further questions, comments of council?
I just have a comment. Sorry, guys.
Please keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Okay, I got 3 minutes? Okay, start the 3 minutes then. That's 2:14. Really, 3 minutes?
I'm not gonna do it.
No,
I
it's just a
joke.
joke.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. I can do it in 3 minutes.
You can
Okay,
talk all you want.
Okay, I can talk all
We
I want?
may leave.
Thank you, okay. Wow,
also
see,
pass a
I
motion
was
to
just
suspend the
going
rules.
to say, you guys, just going to say how wonderful it has been to serve with these men. They have always been, Trapper included, very gentlemanly, they're kind men, they're caring men, and I'm talking about you also, Carl, so listen up. All of them have been wonderful. And to sit here and see Trapper attacked like he was tonight, I felt like he was being attacked. He didn't have any opportunity to defend himself. Sitting there, rolling his eyes and whatever people saw, how would you feel if all this stuff was being said to you and you're not able to say anything? And I know a lot of the women have left, but how would you like to be, and I'm not going to say the word because I think it's filthy, and I would slap somebody's face who called me this, the C word. How would you like to be called that? I mean, I will tell you, if my husband were still alive and somebody called me that, my husband would have punched their lights out. And I believe rightfully so. They would have deserved that, because to me, there are 3 filthy words. And that is one of them. And I mean, nothing was said about that other than, everybody's got it on video. Well, nobody here has seen the video, and I know Trapper. He is a decent man. I just want to say that I felt like he was being attacked. And with people that only knew half the story.
The sheriffs did see the video.
Okay, yeah.
I was hoping he'd talk.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe we're gonna see the video, yeah. And Trapper has said to me he would like everybody here to see the video. He would like an investigation done. Because I think a woman being called that, I think that's a hate crime. If we wanna go put things under hate crime, I think that's a hate crime. To be called, I mean, how would you feel being called that?
What's concerning to me is it sounds like you guys have already.
Excuse me, please
No,
hold citizen comments.
No, we have not. No. So that's all I want to say.
Okay, is there any other questions or comments from council? Mr. McDowell?
Yeah, I think it's probably important to address Mr. Starnes' comment and probably address Mr. Lyons as well. I think there's a lot to say and unpack in this situation. This did start a while ago. Things were looked into. It's important to know that the handbook, is guidelines. They are guidelines, and it is also true that councils need to hold themselves to a higher standard. In terms of an investigation that will happen here, at this point, the bottom line would be, with the situation being where it is, myself and I would I would recommend to City Council that the city attorney be involved in it as well. In terms of Mr. Lyons, I do appreciate your thoughtful consideration of a bipartisan board. I just don't think that the community heals in that situation. I think that this needs to be an internal investigation. I believe that the parties involved, all of the parties involved, Cameron, Joshua, Nichole, and Trapper, can be brought in either individually or collectively. However, we find that to be more respectful. I appreciated the comments from the crowd tonight that focused on love, together, and forward. You know, some of the things that I wanted to say, which I usually don't, was, you know, and I think someone alluded to it, you know, raise your hand if you love Brownsville. We usually don't do crowd participation. But I think it's evidently clear that everybody in this room still, and everybody that was in the rooms before, even if they don't live in town, love this town. And I think it is profoundly important for us to focus on how we collectively are better and restore that. It is very difficult, and I think some folks have pointed out some very important case law and some important laws tonight that they've discussed. And while that is so, I think Laura Lado's comments stuck with me the most, which is, hey, sit down and figure it out. How do we figure this out to move forward in a meaningful way and to move beyond? You know, a lot of comments stayed with me tonight as we're listening to those comments. And I think that it's important for the, you know, it's important for any time for the integrity of the town to make sure that folks feel comfortable, to make sure that things are done in an orderly way so that we don't try somebody in the court of public opinion. So, you know, unfortunately, and I know one of the ladies talked to that point tonight, saying that she was a civil servant for 20 years. I know Carl and I and Elizabeth Coleman get burned at the stake weekly for decisions that we have to make based on the code and based on our decisions. And, you know, from experience, regardless if you're held to a higher standard or not, it's abjectly maddening. It's abjectly maddening to see things that are written in the newspaper that I feel are irresponsible. And again, I think if you're going to give folks a fair shake, both sides do need to be said. It is incredibly difficult. I can just tell you the counseling that I have given Councilor Solberg over the last few weeks and over the last year or so, along with Mayor Craven, has been impactful. It's been meaningful. The anguish that, you know, that Trapper has on this is palpable. What we want to do as your city and as your government leaders is to look into this with an ombudsman, right, with the attorney, sit down with them, have them take a look at the facts, bring the sides together, and figure out a path for all of us to move forward. That is really the best for our community, and that is what we will strive to do. So I appreciate your bipartisan suggestion, but I think this situation is serious enough that we need to make sure that we answer all the questions through legal eyes to make sure that everybody feels that they were served in this situation.
So on the calendar side, you'll have something to report in July.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
You know?
Like you talk to the lawyer?
Yeah. Here's the thing, okay? When these situations happen, I'll tell you the person who really takes it, me. 72 hours before last Thursday, had to come in on Friday. Didn't get to play golf, didn't get to see my daughter off. To say I was beyond abjectly through the ceiling, Tammy thought I turned into Satan. I mean, she was, like, look, these things take time. I will get to it as soon as I can. I can tell you the July council meeting, it's going to be pushing it, because here's why, Patrick. And I usually don't answer questions, but I respect you, and I think everybody deserves an answer, for sure. That timetable is really way too tight. My daughter's turned 19 and 17 in a couple of weeks. I'll be out for a week. We've got to get the budget certified. I've got to get a budget in. We've got vacations. It's just super, super tight. We will certainly get to it as soon as I can. I will reach out on Thursday as soon as I can to the city attorney, give him the files that I have. I will request right now I know, Natalie, I don't mean to point you out, but if you do have any videos that you would share with me, if you could let your folks know to get them to me if they're comfortable doing so, so that I can get them to the attorney and so that we can get those reviewed. I would expect that, you know, for sure the September council meeting will have something. I know we do recess in August, but that would give us ample time. I know the city attorney, I'm not sure exactly what his vacation schedule is either. So, you know, it will take time to review the documents, to make sure that we have, you know, get folks in, to make statements, all of those things. It will take time to do this correctly. So I don't want to give you a drop dead date, Patrick, because if we do that and we don't, I don't want to promise something and underdeliver, you know, so.
I'm a contractor,
Yeah, absolutely, I know you do, I know you do.
But having a number like September meeting
Yeah.
is something for.
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
I think that's a realistic timeframe to do those things. So anyway, so thank you for bringing those questions. It was very nice of you. Thank you, Don, for the suggestion. And council, if council's pleased with that process, we will move forward down that path. If it sounds reasonable to everyone. Okay, very good.
Okay. Thanks, Scott. Okay. Last item on the,
Okay.
On the subject. You know, we passed a couple things tonight regarding 3% increases in water and sewer. And while it may not seem like significant, and I did make a comment, I'm glad it's not more, it still sucks.
It does.
Right? It still hits every single one of our bills.
All of us.
But I did want to let everybody know that we take it serious.
Yeah.
We don't pass anything, especially things that hit our wallets too.
That's right.
Without really considering all the things that we can do. So we need it. And unfortunately, you know, in the future with things that are coming down with DEQ, could be a whole lot
That's right.
more, and we're committed to fighting against that, so.
And I would like to say, my gas, my electric, and my insurance only went up 3%. I would be a happy camper.
Yeah, you're right.
Very true.
30%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
okay. Thank you, council. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay,
Third.
meeting's adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Good job. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.
You're most welcome.